talking about your experience. Tonight is all about the movies, and before we specifically talk about you and working with Elvis, how did you get started in show business, but I would think showing up with your own stunt double is probably a pretty good thing.
Well, our father was an art director for the ABC television, and back in the day, he did all the Lawrence Welk shows as an art director. So that's sort of his claim. A lot of his friends and family and neighbors were in the industry. And so somebody called and said, do I have any casting call down at MGM for twin boys about your age? So we went down, my mom took us down, and you ever step into a room with about 100 twins?
Wow.
Wow, bouncing off the walls, crazy.
All 8 years old.
Yeah,
Energy, yes.
And so they interviewed everybody, and by the end of the day, they told us, you're it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Was this your first role, or had you done some other things before going to Florida?
This was our first movie role. The other stuff we did was television.
Okay.
Primarily television. We as child actors.
Yeah. Now, a lot of times in Hollywood, they will cast twins, especially infants, but they'll cast twins in the same role because there's only a particular amount of time in a day that a child can work, and they can kind of rotate off.
There are time limits for age, depending on the age of the child. And remember, Ariadne, who was the youngest of us in the movie, she had a twin, and they alternated both of them throughout the movie because they were too young to be on set. We were a little older at 8, but she was like, I think, 3.
Yeah.
Just too young.
I love that. You were old at 8, so you could hang out after class and act with Elvis. So you get cast. You're in California, I assume, and this movie very famously shot in Florida on location. So tell me about how you got cast and just basically traveling to Florida, I'm assuming with your family.
Well, once they chose us, the first thing they told us was, don't cut your hair.
Okay.
Now, this was with what time?
61 astronauts,
Buzz
cut was everybody at school.
So we had to grow our hair out. So they made a lot of fun of us at school.
Other kids made fun.
Oh, yeah.
We had like mop heads,
Yeah, well, you were predating the Beatles.
Yes.
So maybe they saw Follow That Dream. You never know. So you get to Florida. What's it like? First of all, do you know who Elvis is at 8 years old before you actually got to meet Elvis and work with him?
No, we had no idea what fame was. We knew Elvis was the star in the film, and he was, the star is supposed to be somebody special, but his mannerism on the set was rather unique. There was no ego. You would have never known, walking on the set, that he was, super, because he had no ego. He was just a regular person on the set.
He's like a big brother with us.
Yeah.
He played around with us on the set itself. We'd make styrofoam spaceships, go behind a tree, and they also miraculously landed over there. He was moving around here. He's playing fun with us. We just had like kids, football, all kinds of stuff on the set. It was a lot of fun.
And you kind of had him to yourself because he didn't go back home. He was on location with all of you, so you were all kind of staying together and working together during the day.
And we were in a small resort called Port Paradise, where everybody stayed there. From light grips to everybody, we were all in the same space. So we shared. We shot pretty much 6 days a week, 6 days a week. So the off days were rare, but we all just be camped out, hanging out. It was fun.
Yeah. How long before, when you were working, that you realized you were working with someone special? Because this very famous story that the crowds around the location in Florida were quite big, with just people wanting to come get a glimpse of Elvis. The famous story that Tom Petty, one of those young people that was trying to see Elvis.
Well, it's interesting because it was not until the courthouse scene, which is near the end, that we realized the scope. Because most of the time the filming, and we were isolated away from the public. We didn't see any large crowds. Everything was, and of course we were not involved with the bank scenes. That wasn't part of the script. But when we saw the courthouse, and we walked outside at lunchtime, and the sea of people, and the police barricades, and it was quite the show. It was like that was like, hey, I think there's something more going on near the
Exactly.
So you work with Elvis, and there's some famous photos of you guys clowning around. You're riding his back, and all those kind of things. And for you to be working with someone like that, they say in Hollywood, the rule is, if you're an actor and you're serious about acting, you don't work with animals, you don't work with kids. he worked with both of them, and it seemed to be, from our clip that we saw especially, he was pretty good at working with them. Did you feel a connection with him when you were acting, and even when just hanging out?
Well, the way I like to describe it is, as an 8-year-old, since we really don't understand the depth of fame, our relationships with the various people on the set, whether it's the grip, we were infatuated with because he had mega muscles. He really, you know, we called him strongman, in fact, to all the different people. And when you interact with the different people on the set, you sort of got a sense that there's certain people you stay away from. And not to disparage Colonel Parker, but he was one we knew not to go near. True statement.
Even at 8, you know that is just not
At
a
8
guy
years.
that
Somebody rolled it the hard way, right?
Well, speaking of that, and keep you where you are, but I want to insert this. I was reading Peter Guralnick's new book about Colonel Parker, and in the book is a photograph taken by a young woman who his mom worked for Colonel Parker, and it's just a family snapshot. And I had them loaded in here. I wanted to show you guys. This is in, if you've got that photo, there it is. From
I remember that.
That's the R2, Robin and Gavin down there in the
Right
bottom,
there,
and
in the
you're pretty. One of you is pretty close to Colonel right there. I got to tell you.
Look at the face, though. You should know.
Yeah, that's true.
But
You're checking your wallet to see if it's still.
That was actually in Florida. It was they built the house that we lived in the movie was built. The exterior was all built there. There was nothing on the inside. We did all the interior shots in Hollywood. So this was just an exterior shot, and we're just all hanging out and taking a shot. You know, there were times because it takes forever to move cameras with single camera.
Yeah.
It takes a long time. A lot of times it's killed, so you got to wait. So we're just hanging out. You know.
Yeah, and that is next to Colonel is the young girl who is the daughter of the woman next to her that worked for Colonel, and then unknown in the glasses. And the lady with the white glasses is Marie, that's Colonel Parker's wife, and then of course Elvis right there having a pretty good
It looks like
time.
Anne's on the right.
And Anne, yes, I think that is, I can kind of make that out. And you were saying that you've seen this photo, but like maybe one made a little bit before or after this photo. Kind of something around that
It might have been
time.
this photo, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I thought I've seen this before in the past, a little differently.
Now, do you guys have photos from the set that
Some
you
of them.
guys made?
Not us, no.
Yeah.
Mainly from other people.
Yeah,
who gave us
yeah.
pictures.
That's how a lot of people that worked with Elvis or lived with, one of the guys or something, they never had cameras to take photos. In the later years, they've got a lot of photos from the fans, to be able to do that. So you come back, you make the movie. Do you realize that? Well, I guess at that age, you wouldn't. If you didn't really know Elvis, you wouldn't know that you made a really good movie with him. I mean, you really did. You made a fun movie that kind of showed what I wish they'd used more, the comedic timing and stuff. I always thought that role is kind of like he's Jethro Bodine's brother. He didn't make it to Beverly Hills. He got stuck in Florida with the other side of the Clampett family. But he's a lot of fun to watch in that movie.
But it's interesting that this is also a movie that he didn't do song and dance. I mean, there's songs in it, but not that dancing. It was really
Because I actually think that we had such a good time on the set. It was a summer, for us it was a summer adventure. For being 8 years old, and it's a whole adventure going down to Florida, doing this thing, coming back, it was just like, brand new cool stuff, but the whole mood on the set was everybody was having a good time. I did not get a sense of negative vibes or stress. Everybody seemed to be having just a great time. And I think that mood carried over to some extent into the production, because in talking with Andy later and other people, everybody had a great time. So,
did you after working on this movie, it comes out? What's your real life like? Are you going to school when you're not working? With like public school with people that are your age that can go to the movies and see you in a movie with Elvis, or are you homeschool? I mean, what was your schooling
in
situation?
Hollywood, there were a lot of fellow students who were in different movies and shows and stuff,
yeah.
so it's sort of commonplace. I mean, we just didn't really think anything about it.
yeah, right. A lot of the school kids' parents worked in the industry in some fashion. So it was just, it was really, if you behaved yourself and weren't a jerk, you were okay,
Yeah.
The thing that stuns me the most is all of us are sitting here today because of Elvis.
Yeah.
You know, the power of somebody. Well, it's almost 50 years since his death. We shot the film 63 years ago, and we're here talking about it.
Yeah.
And it just blows my mind how his power, how one man's influence, his drive and his influence and his talent is still circulating today in the world. The power of it is amazing. It's just stunning.
Exactly.
Of one person.
I would like to introduce this next person who I feel is the best kept secret in the Elvis world, who was in the movie we were just seeing, and we were married for years, and she's good friends with my wife now, and she has not been back here for 61 years, I believe. Sandy was a big part of when Elvis wanted to get Priscilla a horse. He asked me if he could get Sandy one, and we got 2 horses and wound up with 38. It was the 10 Outstanding Young Americans, the picture with me and Sandy and Priscilla, Elvis, we all went together. There's so many stories I can tell, but she is true Hawaiian aloha, and this is her first time, and just give her a loving, warm welcome, Sandy Kawelo.
Sandy Kawelo! Jerry, to hear that for her, what do you think? To be able to come to these fans and be a part of our lives now, Sandy, thank you for being here.
Yeah, and well deserving. And Elvis loved this lady, I'll tell you.
Now, tomorrow at Conversations, we're going to talk in depth about Jerry and Sandy and the experiences they had while they were living here at Graceland across the street. Right now, we're going to talk about the movies. And Jerry, you're going to be back a little bit later to talk about Elvis and the movies. Thank you for bringing Sandy out.
My pleasure. Have fun.
Aloha. Oh my goodness. Now,
I was a student at the college there called.
put your mic up. There you go.
I was a student.
She's new at this.
I'm new at this. I have no idea. I have to hold it like this. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. I was a student at BYU Hawaii. At that time, it was called Church College of Hawaii, and I had attended. I was in my freshman year there. So during the summer, I auditioned to become a dancer at the Polynesian Cultural Center, and I ended up as a dancer there. And so it was such a blessed time because this could have happened to any of you. You know, that being a student somewhere and someone coming to film, and all of this magic could have happened to you. Well, I was just blessed to be there at the right time, you know, and we didn't know, being a dancer, we have all of these tourists that come through, but they were there filming for a whole week, you know, and we as dancers did some of the things that you saw the big group. We were a big group of students, and we were all students from all over Polynesia, not only Hawaii. They came from Tonga, Tahiti, Samoa, Fiji, the Maoris from New Zealand, you know, all over. And wonderful, wonderful experience being there as a dancer. But to have Elvis and them come there to film was something new, and we were all so excited. You know, couldn't believe that he was stepping up on our stage. Yeah. And but so.
And Hawaii at that time was a very new state. Had been admitted to the Union and to America and a part of America, but it was still a very exotic place for most Americans. We had not been there yet when Elvis was bringing us those scenes from Hawaii and of the people and the culture of Hawaii. And it must have been wonderful for you in Hawaii to see someone like Elvis helping get the message out about your state.
And he truly embraced all of the Polynesian people. All of us who were there dancing, you know, he enjoyed it and he participated. He just got in there and wanted to beat the drums, and he was up there dancing, you know, and those drums were huge drums, you know, being a part of there and dancing on top of them.
Yeah.
You know.
Was he a good dancer?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, you guys know what he danced.
Yeah.
Yeah. I fell in love with him.
Yeah. How much of a, we were talking with Robin and Gavin about when Elvis was on location shooting, there was always crowds around. Did that happen in Hawaii on location when he was shooting? Were there just fans and crowds that kind of always knew where he was?
No, because they had to limit it. The people from coming in, it was before, you know, they just closed the center.
Yeah.
And we just had the show at the evening time, then we had a big show, Polynesian show. How many of you have been to the Polynesian Cultural Center? It's a fabulous place to be. And it's such a different theater that they have now than they did, you know, then.
Yeah.
It was more quaint when we were there, but we thought it was the best place to be. You know, being students and going to school and then having these as the summer job. And I only worked there for, 6 months? I only worked there for 6 months, then I fell in love. You know? And you all know who?
We can understand. We can understand.
And, you know, I came to the mainland and it was, you know, left that world behind, dropped out of school, but it could have happened to any one of you. What happened to me? It was a magical experience, you know, to live here at Graceland and to be a part of this life. Yeah,
What was that like? I'm use the term culture shock to go from Hawaii to Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, really? I mean, I had no idea about being cold, okay? Because it's so warm there, and I was coming here in December. Oh. And not knowing, I said, okay, I know I'm gonna need a coat. You know, what kind of winter coat do I have? Am I gonna buy? Mm-hmm. And so I go to Liberty House, which is now a Macy's in Hawaii. You know, no longer Liberty House, but Macy's. And I buy this coat for me. And I thought it was a nice warm coat about this length, you know. And I go put it on and I come here and I said, oh my gosh, this isn't going to do anything. It was a rain jacket. A black rain jacket that I thought would have kept me warm. Yeah. But anyway, we went out to buy something and I borrowed something of Priscilla's for a while, you know, to hang out in the winter. Yeah. But it was totally snowy. I mean, when I got here. Yeah, there on Graceland's the front lawn was a big, you know, life-size nativity scene and all of that. Very special and something that I'd never seen before. About maybe 15 years ago, I was, what photo is that? Over there. That there was a photo like that at Polynesian Cultural Center of myself and another dancer with Elvis in the middle of us. And she just so happened to be at the Cultural Center when I went there to visit, not knowing that she was there. But she told me, Sandy, come, I've got to go show you something. And she took me to, there was a shop there that had all Elvis memorabilia. And there in the front, when we went to the shop, was this picture. So she and I stood next to it, side by side, the before and the now. And I said that to Tom. You know, it was so funny seeing that there. Yeah, how we've changed.
Before and after, beautiful both.
Oh.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Sandy Kawelo, please come to Conversations tomorrow. We're going to have more with her. This show about Hollywood because Los Angeles is still where you live, in the home that...
Thanks to Elvis.
Thanks to Elvis, and made a career in show business, worked as a film editor. If you love some of the montage sequences in Elvis on Tour, Jerry worked with another young man on those. His name was, what was it?
Marty Scorsese.
That's right. That's right. So we were talking about Elvis in the movies, and we always said that, I was talking earlier about how Elvis was always fighting Red or Sonny or beating up somebody, and it was always kind of fun to look in the background to see where you guys were. And you told me one time that when you were an extra like that, if you crossed in front of a major player, you got a bump, or what were there were little...
Oh, the silent bit.
A silent bit, yeah. And you said Elvis would always kind of make sure that he would get close to you guys, so you'd get a little...
Yeah, we get a little extra $100 or something, you know, it was cool. Yeah.
Taken care of you.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of us that have seen some of the stills backstage from Charo see Jerry Schilling looking an awful lot like Elvis. How did that come to be?
Well, I was trying to get a job in film editing, and so I quit working for Elvis. It was hard to do. But we kept a friendship. So he called me and said, you know, did you get the editing job yet? And he said, you know, do you want me to help you? I said, no, I couldn't. And I did need him to help me. But anyway, he said, I'm doing a movie in Arizona. If you want to be my stand-in and do some photo double work. And I said, sure. And so I went to Arizona, and I did the distant horseback stuff. And, you know, in my book, there's a picture of Elvis, like that great shot that we saw of him in Charo earlier. And then there's me in the same wardrobe doing the photo double stuff. So, I mean, it's amazing to look back on that. I mean, that I got to be able to work and double Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. So, yeah, it was pretty cool.
As you became a manager of people like Billy Joel and the Beach Boys and Jerry Lee Lewis, I wonder if being a performer might have helped you understand what the performer goes through when they're acting, when they're playing music, when they're, you know, it's very vulnerable. You're kind of on a set, but that camera's looking at you, and whatever happens is going to be seen by fans.
Right. Well, I think the biggest lesson, and you get a lot of it through osmosis, but living with Elvis, working with him and all of that, and seeing the various moods, and that makes you very sensitive to an artist. And but I think I got that not by any but by example from Elvis. And I, you know, being with him so much and everything, I knew the temperament of an artist, and most of the time, you know. Jerry Lee was good most of the time.
If you can manage, yeah, you're doing pretty well.
7 years.
Yeah. For Elvis, when he got films, when he was going to Hollywood, you told a wonderful story earlier today about Green Grass of Home and what it meant to Elvis to be coming back from Hollywood. What was life like in Los Angeles? Take us on a typical shoot day. You're in one of the houses in Los Angeles, and you and the guys are there, and Elvis he's got to be on set. Assume he has an early call time to get into makeup. To tell me a typical day, if there was one, about when Elvis was working in Hollywood.
Yeah, well, you know, Elvis was almost in every scene, so we had to be there. It was like leave the house at 7, makeup at 8, and start shooting at 9. There were long days, and but I was thrilled. I mean, you know, I'm in Hollywood, the Paramount Studios, you know, on a movie set, and you know, some of the movies were less challenging to Elvis, so he wanted to have fun, you know, on the sets, and we'd pull pranks on each other between takes, and even the movies that weren't as challenging for us, we still had a good time. In fact, there was a director one time on Live a Little, Love a Little, and we were all having fun. But when it was time to do the work, Elvis was a pro. He was right there. And he went up to Elvis and said something about you guys, you know, doing all this stuff, you know. He was having a problem with it. And Elvis said, well, you know, Mr. Rich, he said, one of us will have to go, and it ain't going to be me. If we can't do what we want to do. You know?
Yeah. There was also a story of Gene Nelson, a director. I think the movie's Harem Scarum that he's working on, and
That's
it's got
right.
a very, very tight shoot schedule. I mean, maybe
15 days.
15 days for a motion picture. And Elvis comes in, and do you know this story where he comes in and he sees the director kind of looking through the script, and he's doing this, and he says, "Mr. Nelson, you okay? Everything okay?" And he goes, "Oh no, Elvis, nothing. You know." He says, I'm about a day and a half behind. You know, and I'm just looking to see what we can do to kind of catch up and everything." And he said, "Well, Mr. Nelson, you tell me if you need me to be sick, because if I'm sick, the insurance will kick in and you can shoot around me to pick up anything you need to pick up. So you let me know if I need to be sick."
Oh, I never heard that great story.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of guy Elvis was. You know?
Yeah. And calling him Mr. Nelson. So
Of course.
You know, of course. Now for you, also, we were talking about something the other night over at the house with Linda, that you truly do know what it's like to be an actor, because there was a role of you, I believe you were billed as young man in an episode of The Rookies.
I wish I still was.
Yeah. Trust me, you could still play young man. You were playing opposite an actress who was billed as young woman.
Yep.
In The Rookies. And tell us about this scene, and then tell us who this actress was that you were in this scene with.
Well, there was a scene, it was The Rookies, and I got to do a lot of kind of little parts and stuff, because my big brother at Arkansas State, Rick Husky, when I was on a football scholarship, he became, and I brought him back to Memphis a few times, asked Elvis, was it cool, you know, to the amusement park or movies, and so Rick, I bring him back to Memphis, and you know, I wasn't still old enough to go to work for it, and you know, where Elvis was going, it was private, you know, otherwise it would have been crazy. So I bring Rick, I ask Elvis, we drove in from Jonesboro, Arkansas, and I said, "Can I bring my friend, whatever?" He says, "Oh, cool." And so Rick came, and we were at the, we called it the fairgrounds at the time, Liberty Land, and roller coasters and everything. And next thing I know, about 3 weeks later, a movie magazine article comes out by Rick Husky, "A Weekend with Elvis." And I go, "Oh my God. You know, I've just blown all trust in Elvis." Elvis loved it. He loved the article. He would read movie magazines.
Yeah.
And so then Rick, unbeknownst to me, wrote Elvis a letter and said, "We would like to honorary induct you into our fraternity, Tau Kappa Epsilon." And Elvis was so moved, and you've probably seen pictures with him and Rick, and you know, and so we're also fraternity brothers, Elvis and I. Yeah. So, but he was thrilled. He didn't get a chance to go to college, and that somebody respected him that much. And, yeah.
And then Rick Husky goes on to Hollywood, becomes a producer.
Huge.
Produces the Rookies.
Charlie's Angels. Created Cage, SWAT. I mean, I could go on and on. And that's who Elvis bought my home from. That was Rick's home, and he was moving to Malibu and other places. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Speaking of Malibu, let's talk about young woman in this scene. Let's go back now to a scene already in progress in The Rookies, where I think it's a bar and there's a girl dancing, and then the director says, "All right, I need you two to kiss in this scene." And I don't know what kind of actor that you are, if you're method or what, Stella Adler maybe. I'm not sure what school of acting you went to, but tell them who your dancing young woman co-star was.
Well, let's say she was very close to Elvis at the time too, and Elvis was a human being. He could be jealous. Trust me. And so I'm in a scene with Linda Thompson, and we have to kiss. I mean, don't have to. It wasn't that, but
For the role, it's just,
method actor.
Exactly.
So anyway,
You're Brandon.
we were both scared to death that Elvis was going to see this scene on television. Luckily, he never did.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to talk about with Elvis in Hollywood with you is his tremendous respect for every person on that set.
Yeah.
Sound guy, the gaffer, the makeup,
Yeah.
the stunt people, especially the stunt people.
Oh, yeah.
Cameras, I mean, he really did make an effort to meet everybody and know them.
Well, and all the people in Hollywood, they loved working on an Elvis film because it was fun. He was, not some uppity star. He was part of it. And we'd start a film and he'd go back to the head of the driving, or grip, or lighting man. He remembered talking about their families, and he'd say, how's the family? How was he would remember a kid's name or whatever. And it was really, it's sad at the end of a movie because, especially when you go on location, is that you become a family with these people, and then it's over, but luckily, we worked a lot with the same people, and it's a real family situation, and
Well, all those movies just continue to live on and continue to be little doorways that young people are using to discover, who he is. So thanks for coming here to tell us a little bit about Elvis in the movies. And I was thinking, it's getting kind of late, and you and I are supposed to be across the street, at a tour. So I think you and I need some doubles, some stand-ins.
I think so.
And so Dean Z and Argo, if you would come be our stand-ins. I may or may not be back later, but let's get Dean Z and Argo. They're going to take us on down the line, and thank you very much, Jerry, for being a part
My
of it.
pleasure, my friend. The Tom and Jerry Show.
That's right.
Jerry Schilling and Tom Brown. You're my best friend.
But I'd come here for free.
I think we all would, Larry.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
we all would.
Just to get to sing the music one more time, just, so.
I don't know about you, but I love listening to this man speak. Can you narrate my life?
Yes, I will. I'll stand behind you until the rest of the day. Just talk for you.
Walking down the street. Oh man, it's so great to have you. Thank you so much. We're talking about Elvis in Hollywood, and I don't know if I've ever asked you this question before. Do you have a favorite Elvis movie yourself, personally?
Well, I think the best one that he did, as far as his acting and everything, was King Creole. Yeah.
And you were here, we were just talking about the Jungle Room. You were here when Elvis was recording in the Jungle Room. You said, came downstairs and started with Hurt, right?
Hurt was the first song that we recorded. And he came downstairs and joked around a little while, and then they cranked up the song. And I think he sang it maybe twice. And usually you go in the studio and you'll sing a verse and stop, and then you go back and sing that verse again, and they'll cut it 2 or 3 times and have different versions they can pick from when they mix it. Well, he sang it top to bottom twice, and that was, they probably mixed a couple of them together, but that was the record. That's the record that you hear. It blew me away out of his first recordings that I had done with him. To see it go down like that was just amazing.
It's incredible. Only Elvis could do something like that. That is unheard of in music, to do a song twice and have the master take in 2 takes. Wow.
And he didn't have a lyric sheet. It wasn't like he had to, follow notes and look at the lyrics or whatever. He just belted it out. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
And I love the consistency of Elvis and his love to sing. So you guys would rehearse, you'd do a show, 2 shows in Vegas, and then afterwards he still wanted to keep singing.
It was unbelievable. He would do that till like 4 o'clock in the morning, and of course the quartet, the guys, were going, oh man, it's gonna be another long night, because Elvis didn't sleep at night, he was up all night, and so he'd keep us singing, the whole time. Charlie would be on the piano, and it would be this old gospel stuff that he just absolutely loved it, and he couldn't get enough of it. And of course he could sing the dog out of it, and it was a lot of fun, but it was hard at the same time.
Well, he loved that full sound, and I know he loved the bass.
Yes, he did. Thankfully.
I think we all love the bass, Larry. You bring it, man. And I don't know if we can put you on the spot. If it's okay with you, would you mind singing tonight for all the people that are out here?
I will, but I'm gonna need your help.
You need help?
Yeah, if you'll help me.
Yeah, I'll help you. Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna leave it with y'all. I think you can handle this here.
Okay.
What a treat.
Wow, what do you want to sing, Larry?
One of my favorites was Peace in the Valley. Y'all know that?
You guys are just wonderful. I've been back there watching, reminiscing, and oh my gosh, you're like crying every time.
Oh, it's so great to have you back.
Hi, everybody.
We've had so much fun over the years with Marlyn Mason talking about Elvis, and it's just been interesting tonight because you yourself are an actress, and you were watching all these clips and all these actors and actresses that have worked with Elvis and all the different kinds of movies. They were just fun. They made you feel
Yes,
good.
I never saw, and I still haven't ever, I've never seen an Elvis movie. I've just seen little clips,
Yeah.
except my movie. And,
Well, they're good. You should try them out.
but he was amazing. He was a wonderful actor.
Yeah.
And we never got to see the best of his acting abilities. I felt it working with him because we worked alike,
Yeah.
and it was just kind of by the seat of our pants. But we knew what we had. We knew what the job was,
Right.
and we never quite knew what we were going to do. But we knew what had to be done, and it was all unspoken.
Trust.
It was amazing. I
Trust.
loved
Yeah.
working with him. Yeah.
And you've been in, so we talk and I tell you about all the TV shows I'm watching that you're in. I'm like, oh, I'm watching Vegas and you're with Dan Tana. Oh, I'm watching Mannix and you're with Mannix. You worked with so many, on so many shows, so many different movies. And you told me once, you said the atmosphere on the set is set by the star and it trickles down. And on an Elvis movie like this, you said it started with Elvis and everything was
It
just
was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was just wonderful. Yeah. It was we had a great crew, but a lot of them had worked with him before.
That's what Jerry was saying. That
Yes.
It's like a family
Yeah.
of people that wanted to work on Elvis movies.
Yeah, and I would love to. I wish I had had a chance to do more films with
Yeah.
him, just to work with him.
Yeah. How did you get cast in this film?
I don't know. Peter Tewksbury wanted me, and I didn't have to audition. I was in New York doing a Broadway musical, which one of my bucket list things was to star in a Broadway show, and I did. And it closed because of a strike. And I came home, and it was in August, I think I got the call, August or early September, because it was a 10-week shoot, and I know we were shooting up after Christmas. And I just got a call, did I want to do my manager called me, said, you got a call, and they want you for an Elvis movie. Are you interested? I said, yeah, because I was doing television, and I wanted to be a movie star, not a movie star, a movie actress. And I thought, well, maybe this is an opening into films, and which it wasn't, but because nobody saw the movie. And so.
But for you, so what was it like? You get to the set, what was it like meeting Elvis? Do you have a memory of that?
Oh yeah, the first thing I said to him, I'm not a fan of yours. And he kind of looked at me, and I quickly said, I don't mean that unkindly. I said, I said, I know who you are. I know, and I haven't seen your movies, and all my girlfriends have seen your shows and know all about you, and I know some of your music, but I said, I'm in a total different music world, and that was Broadway's musical kind of stuff. And so that was how we met. And when I told him that, go ahead of almost 10 weeks, he calls me into his room. This was before December 8th. Was that not the day of the comeback special?
December 3rd.
December 3rd.
Yep.
And it's almost an 8, isn't it?
Yeah.
You
were only half wrong.
Yeah, only. And he called me into his dressing room and he says, hey Cap, he says, I've got a special coming on this weekend and I'd like you to watch it and tell me what you think. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna tell Elvis what I think. And I said, sure, okay. So I'm sitting at home by myself, I turn on the show. Oh my God. He came out in that black leather. You know that story. And I thought, I'm working with that. So everything that I felt about him, I saw that he knew how brilliant he was, but it was all natural. And that he just he lived to do that.
Yeah.
And so on Monday morning, he opens the door, hey Cap, how you doing? I told you I was not a fan of yours, but I am now. And I said, you have no idea how talented you are. He knew how talented he was. I know how talented I am, but it's not in a, conceited kind of way. It's just, I know what I'm capable of doing. And I think that was his frustration, and some of you have probably heard me. I don't know how many of you have seen me before, but for the newcomers, the saddest thing he ever said to me in all of the conversations, it's the only thing I remember word for word, was he said, I'd like to make one good film because I know people in this town laugh at me. That was a heartbreaker, and that just seared into my brain. And it's sad that he didn't get to make that movie that fulfilled him.
Yeah.
And
I have to ask you about, because there's always new fans coming in, and they don't know about you and Elvis and a chair.
okay, now this is just for the people who have never seen me or heard my Elvis stories. I gotta remember to keep this thing in my mouth. Just clap if you've never seen me or heard my story. Oh, I got lots of
There you go.
Well, I have to set the scene a little bit.
Okay.
Let's
She's
see.
using props.
Let's see. I think I'll do it this way.
Okay.
All right. The camera's here.
Mike.
The camera's here.
Okay.
Elvis is standing up here. It's his close-up. And I'm down here in Trouble with Girls. He's rubbing my shoulders. You saw the little bit of the scene. And he's rubbing my shoulders. And the director, Peter Tewksbury, comes to me and he wanted a particular reaction. And I can't remember what it was, but I just know he said, I don't care what you do, just get it for me. Okay.
He wanted a reaction from Elvis.
He wanted,
Yeah.
wanted me to do something so that Elvis, he wanted some particular look on Elvis's face. So I don't see Elvis because my back is to him, mind you. So we never have eye contact. The camera is on Elvis, and Elvis is rubbing my shoulders, trying to sweeten me up. And while and we're going back and forth, he's doing most of the talking. So while he's talking, I turn. I'm looking at his crotch. I look at the movie and I see it for just a split moment. There's a little on his face. And that must be the look that Tewksbury wanted, because he says, "Thank you very much, I got what I wanted, thank you, Marlyn." But the beauty of Elvis was he stayed in character and reacted to what I was doing. He never faked it. That was when I learned Elvis never faked anything. And when I watched him in performance after that, the guy, if he forgot a lyric, he would just keep going. And he would let the audience, he would share it with the audience. And it was beautiful. But that's your zipper story, baby.
That's your gambler right there. You gotta know when to hold them and know when to unzip them.
I was tempted when I was zipping to go. A little peek. I stood strong.
Marlyn asked me this afternoon. She said, "Where in the show am I? Am I early in the show?" Or I said, "Oh, you're last, barely."
I'm at the end of everything.
Marlyn, you just can't, you know. But the one thing you can do is tell us about, you actually got to sing and do a number with Elvis, Signs of the Zodiac.
Oh, God.
I mean, that's, you know.
Yes.
You know?
I got to sing with him.
You did.
I was one of 3 women to record. They say 4, that Shelley Fabre would have been the 4th, or it doesn't matter the number, but I mean, there were 4 women. Actually, somebody corrected and said, no, you guys, there were 3 of you that actually recorded with him. Shelley's was a split screen, and it was, so I had to take Shelley off the list.
So what was that like? That musical number?
That was easy to do.
Yeah, because you're a song and dance person. So.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the recording we did at a little studio on Sunset Boulevard, and Mac Davis was there because he wrote "Clean Up Your Own Backyard," which is in the movie. So he was at the recording, and Mac was he was wonderful. There's a guy that loved. It doesn't matter time of day, whatever. You just say, "Oh, could you play your guitar?" Oh man, he'd whip that guitar out. He'd love to perform.
Yeah, we had him here, and he did that.
Yeah.
He said to me, "Is it okay if I bring my guitar?" And we were like, "Yes."
Oh yeah. He did, that was just part of him. The recording was just great fun.
Yeah. You know what, folks? I think we should look at a little bit of Marlyn with Elvis and Signs of the Zodiac. Let's go back to those days.
Oh my God, it's the worst song ever written.
Oh no. Well, let's see what's going on. So incredible that you were able to do that with Elvis, and it's like I can still hear him. And it's and I just wish there was a way that, you can't do a duet by yourself, you know?
No, you want to do a duet?
I don't want to do a duet, but I.
What duet? What do you want to do?
Well, Signs of the Zodiac. If we just had an Elvis, to stand in for Elvis. Oh, what about Dean?
May we have this dance?
Come on. Watch your zipper.
Oh, no. It's a family show, Marlyn.
Are we going to do this?
You guys want to hear it live?